So I've been looking back in our text for Sunday for this Wednesday devotion, and I guess I just was going to read it, and I had a couple thoughts about it that I noticed and didn't really talk about on Sunday, and haven't really thought about specifically. So we're in Mark chapter 1, verse 21. They went to Capernaum, and when the Sabbath came, he entered the synagogue and taught. They were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. Just then there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." And the unclean spirit convulsed him, and crying with a loud voice came out of him. They were all amazed, and they kept on asking one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority? He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." At once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee. What I wanted to key in on today, a little bit more specific, is the question that the man with the unclean spirit asks. Just then there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth?" So, what are you going to do with us? "Have you come to destroy us? Question mark. I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But I think it's really interesting that Jesus rebukes him and tells the spirit to be quiet, or the man to be quiet. But if you have to answer the question, "Have you come to destroy us?" at least at this point in the story, Jesus doesn't destroy him. I just think that's really interesting. Jesus doesn't destroy him, but he tells him to be quiet and casts him out. And I just wonder what that says about God's depth of love and depth of grace and depth of power. If you look into some of the ways that the Jews understood the world and some of the language that's used here, Holy One of God would have been more of a designation of a powerful spiritual being, more so than like the Messiah or Jesus the man. It's referring to something really specific in terms of a Holy Spirit or righteous spirit. So what's happening more than anything is there's a connection here by the Spirit to Jesus with a power and a presence in the spiritual world too. And I guess I've just been thinking about that, about all the ways we look at the world and maybe don't see the world for the depth that it has, and for the depth that God's given it, for the spiritual power that's there, along with just physical power and everything that we know. And that's kind of maybe a nebulous thought or a non-specific thought, but "Have you come to destroy us?" was the demon's expectation, or this unclean spirit's expectation. And Jesus doesn't destroy him, but casts him out. Um, and what I want you to think about today is the already but not yet nature of God's kingdom, and how the promise is that one day all this world and all evil and unrighteousness and uncleanness, however you want to call it, is going to be wiped away, or reconciled would be a good word to use, made right. But until then, we live in this middle time and in this space time, but we still get to cling to the promise and acknowledge that God wants to do something, that Jesus exists everywhere, and therefore we can have faith in him everywhere, whether it's the physical world or somehow when our spirits are broken and unclean, that he's wanting to do something for us, to have some sort of power in our lives. And I really like that. I especially like that in this time when it's so tempting to look at the new year or look at a new president or look at a new whatever and think, oh, this is going to make everything better, or "No, now things are going to be better," or what have you. And to just really still think that and still hope that, but acknowledge that Jesus is still the place where we find hope and where we find true life and true grace, and that He's present everywhere. I hope you can see that today and realize that today and see God there in Jesus Christ for you, that He's the Holy One of God everywhere for you. Have a blessed day.